For centuries, children went to school. But by 2100, school came to them. Imagine a school where every lesson is designed for only one student, you. History would no longer be something children read. It would be something they experienced.
Some children would study geography while looking directly at the earth beneath their feet.
Every child would have the world's greatest teacher, designed uniquely for them.
The greatest classroom on Earth was never built by humans. It had always been the planet itself.
For the first time in history, the entire world became one classroom. The final exam of the future wouldn't be written on paper. It would be measured by the difference students made in the real world. The greatest classroom of the 22nd century would have no walls, because the entire universe had become humanity's school. For generations, classrooms changed very little, while the world outside changed faster than ever. The heaviest thing students once carried wasn't knowledge, it was the weight of outdated systems. The future would no longer ask children what they remembered. It would ask what they could create. Artificial intelligence didn't replace great teachers. It finally gave them the time to truly teach. Children entering school today may work in professions that haven't even been invented yet. Education stopped asking how children should learn and started asking how each child learns best. The world's greatest laboratory had always been waiting outside the classroom. In the future, every child could learn with every other child, no matter where they were born. Education was no longer a place people visited. It became the way they experienced life itself. The classroom of the future would no longer prepare children for the world. It would allow them to change it. Every morning began with one simple question: how do you learn best today? In the future, education would adapt to the student, not the other way around. Every lesson became an adventure designed around curiosity. The smartest teacher wasn't the one who knew the most. It was the one who knew exactly when to change the lesson. When knowledge became visible, understanding arrived naturally. Language would no longer decide who could learn together. Artificial intelligence handled information, but inspiration remained beautifully human. Children no longer asked what they had to study. They asked what they wanted to discover. The purpose of education was no longer finding a job. It was finding a purpose. In the year 2100, every child would have a teacher who understood them completely, and a world waiting to be explored. By 2100, the most inspiring classroom on Earth was the forest itself. Students no longer imagined Earth's history. They stood inside it. The oceans stopped being chapters in textbooks and became classrooms filled with life. Every field trip became a mission to better understand the planet. The greatest science laboratory was no longer hidden behind walls. It was alive.
History was no longer remembered. It was experienced.
The universe became the largest classroom humanity had ever entered. Graduation no longer depended on passing exams. It depended on improving lives. By 2100, Every environment had become a classroom, and every classroom had become an adventure. When the walls disappeared, education became as limitless as the world itself. History was no longer something students memorized. It became somewhere they could walk. The smallest classroom of the future existed inside a single living cell. Students didn't study engineering to pass exams. They studied it to build something that mattered. The report card of the future wasn't written on paper. It was written across the landscape. Practice no longer ended inside the classroom. It became indistinguishable from reality. Every project solved a real problem, because the future needed solutions, not memorization. Students didn't imagine life on Mars. They learned how to survive there. Artificial intelligence could compose music, but only humans could give it meaning. By helping the world learn, students discovered the deepest lessons themselves. The greatest lesson of the 22nd century was simple. Learning changes the world only when it becomes action. The teacher of 2100 no longer stood in front of the classroom, but walked beside every student. Some questions could never be answered by artificial intelligence because they belonged to the human heart. Failure was no longer something to fear. It became the fastest path to discovery.
The greatest teachers no longer created identical students. They helped every student become uniquely themselves.
Knowledge belonged to everyone, but wisdom grew stronger when shared. Some lessons could only be learned where there were no classrooms at all. The moment a student became a teacher, learning reached its highest purpose. Artificial intelligence could preserve every story, but only a human voice could make it unforgettable. Technology could accelerate learning, but belief in another human being remained humanity's greatest gift. In the year 2100, the greatest teachers would not be remembered for the lessons they delivered, but for the lives they inspired. By 2100, some children would begin every school day by watching Earth rise above the moon. On Mars, every lesson was also a lesson in survival. Gravity was no longer explained. It was experienced by its absence. The universe became more than a destination. It became humanity's greatest classroom. Some schools floated with the tides because the oceans had become teachers too. Some of the most important classrooms on Earth were found where almost nobody lived. Even the harshest landscapes became places where the future could be learned. For the first time in history, humanity's classroom stretched across multiple worlds. No matter where humanity traveled, learning always traveled with it. Humanity's future would not be limited by the size of a classroom, because the universe itself had become our campus. In the year 2100, graduation no longer meant the end of learning. It meant the beginning. The future would judge no one by their age, only by their willingness to keep learning. In the future, people would retire from careers, not from curiosity. The future wasn't about mastering one profession. It was about discovering many versions of yourself. Knowledge changed every day, so education learned how to change with it. The smartest people of the future were those who never stopped asking new questions. Education became strongest when families learned together instead of separately. One generation carried the wisdom of the past, the other imagined the future. Together, they completed the story. Human civilization advanced not because people learned quickly, but because they never stopped learning. The civilization of the future would not be defined by how much it knew, but by how willing it remained to keep learning. The careers of 2100 had not yet been invented, but the students preparing for them already had. Some students would graduate with one mission: healing an entire planet. Doctors of the future would study not only disease, but how to keep humanity healthy for generations. The classroom where tomorrow's explorers learned was already orbiting the Earth. The world's greatest ideas were no longer born in isolation, but through collaboration. The most important question wasn't what artificial intelligence could do, but what humanity should ask it to do. Students of the future would practice saving lives, long before anyone needed saving. The greatest competition of the future was never about defeating others. It was about improving humanity together. Graduation no longer marked the end of education. It marked the beginning of responsibility. The most valuable degree humanity ever earned was learning how to care for its future. The greatest educational achievement wasn't smarter students. It was a wiser civilization. Children who learned together grew into adults who solved problems together.
The children who once planted a single tree grew up to restore entire continents.
Education didn't just prepare humanity for the future, it carried humanity beyond Earth. The greatest reward a teacher ever received was watching their students change the world. Learning was no longer something people scheduled. It became the rhythm of everyday life. Different worlds, one classroom, one future. Every civilization is remembered by what it chose to teach the next generation. The greatest lesson humanity ever learned was that every generation plants the future for the next. For thousands of years, humanity believed schools were places where children prepared for life. Knowledge was no longer stored to be remembered. It was preserved to inspire the next dream. Every lesson of the past became the foundation for tomorrow. The future's greatest inventions would be ecosystems, not machines. Even among the stars, humanity never stopped asking questions. The greatest graduation ceremony was returning to inspire someone else. No matter where humanity lived, every sunrise remained another invitation to learn.
Facts could be stored forever, but wisdom still had to be shared.
Every extraordinary future began with one ordinary child asking one extraordinary question. The child who once searched for answers had become the guide for countless new dreamers. As long as humanity continues to ask, what if? The greatest classroom will always be the universe itself. The oldest classroom in the future was still a tree. The future taught children to design ecosystems, not just technology. The planet itself became every student's greatest research partner. Every new world humanity reached became another place where life could be understood.
What is the most important thing to learn?
The wisest lessons were often the simplest ones. Civilization advanced one lesson at a time. Knowledge united humanity. Curiosity kept it together. The greatest achievement of artificial intelligence was helping humanity believe in itself again. Every lesson planted today became a forest for tomorrow. The future of education was never about creating perfect students. It was about creating curious people who, by 2100, the first question of every school day was no longer, "What must you learn?" but "What will you discover?"
Students were no longer given answers first. They were given problems worth solving.
A successful lesson wasn't something remembered for a test. It was something that left the world better than before. Science became powerful when students could see exactly who and what their discoveries might protect. To understand where humanity was going, students could finally walk through where humanity had been. Education stopped pretending the future was predetermined and showed students that every choice created a different tomorrow. The hardest lessons of 2100 were not about what humanity could do, but what humanity should do. AI could recognize a student's passion, but humans still gave that passion somewhere meaningful to go. Eventually, every student became a teacher, and every teacher remained a student. When knowledge finally escaped the classroom, humanity discovered that there was no place on Earth where learning had to end. The greatest monument humanity ever built was not a city, but a civilization that never stopped learning. The future's greatest classroom was built by every generation teaching the next. Education had taught humanity that protecting nature was the highest form of intelligence. Knowledge became humanity's first truly universal language. Every extraordinary discovery begins with someone who once believed in a child. Different careers, one purpose, leaving the world better than they found it. Humanity crossed the stars carrying its greatest invention, education. The greatest lessons were planted like seeds and harvested by future generations. Every answer humanity discovers creates an even greater question. As long as one child looks toward the stars and asks, "Why?" The greatest celebration of the future was not a holiday. It was the celebration of learning itself. Every lesson learned by one generation became a gift planted for the next. Knowledge carried responsibility, and responsibility united worlds. Civilizations survive because they remember, and because they continue asking new questions. A teacher's greatest legacy is not what they teach, but who their students become. Every age transformed education, and education transformed every age. The future was never built by machines alone. It was built by educated hearts and curious minds.
Every generation begins with an empty page and the courage to write a better future.
A civilization remains alive only while it continues to learn.